Hi everybody, it's Donna from Donna'sDreamWorks.blogspot.com and ready, set, go for Christmas. This is my new series that I'll be doing on Thursdays and about Christmas cards. And I know it's only the second day of fall, but if you're making your own Christmas cards, you can't wait until the last minute. So with everything else you're trying to make and do this time of year, you need to get started. So, and some of you I'm sure have been started for a long time already, so I'm probably later than a lot. These are the things you're going to need for today's card. Your bone folder, some kind of a Christmas stamp, some kind of an edge punch. I have the Martha Stewart edge punch here. Preferably it would be to use maybe the snowflake one. I don't have that at this time, so I'm going to use that one today. Some kind of ink. I have a Color Box Petal Point ink pad here. Some pattern paper and some cardstock, or whatever colors you like. Some kind of adhesive medium, a paper punch, a pencil, and a ruler, preferably a centering ruler, although you can do it without it being a centering ruler. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make this card. We're going to start with an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock cut in half at the 4 1/4. So we have 4 1/4 by 11.5. The one other thing you're going to need is some kind of a scoring tool. You can use your a scoreboard, or you can use your cutter and use the track in the cutter with a bone folder. I happen to have a Martha Stewart scoreboard, so I'm going to use that. We're going to score at 4. I have the 11-inch side at the top. We're going to score at 4 1/4 and 9 1/4. And that's all we need the board for. And we're going to fold these folds up and give them a nice crease, making sure they're nice and straight with the edge of the card. They both fold towards the center. Get them straight with the edge of the card. You know, I find sometimes when you use the scoreboard, you still need to really make sure it's lining up with the edge of the card, or it sometimes does not. So there you have a fold, and I guess you would call this a matchbook fold, as this piece fits inside this piece. And you'll notice that this piece does not go all the way to the bottom, and we'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so now we have the fold. We're going to open it up, and I'm going to use the punch along this short folded edge. The next thing I'm going to do is to put my inside mat in, because I'm going to punch some holes, and I want to make sure that this is in. Now, that's optional. You can put it in later, but if you put it in later, you'll have to resize the inside piece, and I just found it easier to do it this way. So we'll use a little ATG. Or I could use my Tombow, but this was sitting right here. And you want to get this right to the top of your fold, right to the fold line. It's cut about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the card inside, but I don't want any gap at the top, and you'll see why. Okay, now that I have that in there, I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to use my centering ruler upside down and find the center of the card, and then I'm moving up about 1/4 of an inch, not too far, remembering that there's another piece that's going to go inside, and I'm going to draw a couple of dots 1/2 inch on either side of that center line. Okay, now I'm going to take my paper punch of choice. You could use a crocodile, but you don't really have to. This is just a standard paper punch. I'm going to do it this way so I can see the hole. And I'm kind of centering that dot so that I'm not too low, but I don't want to go up too high either. There, and that will give you your 2 holes, okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is to do our sentiment. And I have this color box. This is a pigment ink, so hopefully I don't smudge it all over the place afterwards, but it seemed to be one of the better shades. I didn't want anything that was too drastic in a color. I wanted it a little bit muted. So I'm going to just center this between the edge and the holes and hopefully get this straight. Okay, it looks alright. It's a little bit uphill, but that's, I think the stamp is actually meant to go like that a little bit. So, alright, so now we have the sentiment in. The next thing we're going to do is, let me just wave this a little bit, see if I can get it dry. I don't want to pull out the heat tool. I'm going to close down, I'll put this down, and I'm going to close down the front, and I'm going to put my mat on the front. And I'm using just a plain piece of a textured navy blue cardstock. So we'll do that. And again, this is cut at about 1/8 of an inch smaller. So we want to make sure we can get it fairly centered, and I think that's pretty good. There, alright. Now what we're going to do down here, and we're going to do this first because you need to see how much room you have, is we're going to add a piece of ribbon. And the way we're going to add this ribbon, and I'm going to shorten this considerably before I do it. This happened to be a scrap, but I don't need this much for sure. Okay. The way we're going to do this is to put it down through the card on both sides. And if I had, these are fairly good size holes, so it's not too difficult. This particular ribbon is one that will fray, so I will have to use my cigarette lighter at the end and burn the edges. Probably won't do that right now because I have a fan going above my head and it's kind of hard to do that. I usually have to leave the room. If I can get that one through the hole. There we go. So now you have your ribbon coming down like this. And you just pull it nice. Okay, now we're going to go to the back, and I came down this hole, I'm going to go up the other one. And you can see how this frays. This is, okay, and I came down this hole, I'm going to go up the other one. Excuse my computer going off. And what you end up with is a really nice bow effect on the bottom of your card. And you can just fiddle with it a little bit, straighten it out. It looks very pretty in the middle like that. And I'm just going to shorten these on both sides. And there you go. That's kind of pretty. I think I would like to just twist this one just a little more. There you go. It comes out a little better. Now you're going to put a focal point up here. And depending, it's all on what you want to use. I'm going to be using a Cricut cut of a snowflake. And I'm going to start with a mat of some really almost mirror-like paper. And let me show you this. These are cards that I got. If you remember, I told you about going to Pat Catan's when I was in Ohio. This was a couple of years ago, actually. These were 4x6 cards, and they're fairly nice. They're nice weight. They're not too heavy to cut with your Cricut or with a Cuttlebug, which I actually cut with the Cuttlebug here, the scallop circle. 4x6, and you can see how many, and I have used some, and these were $2, so that's the kind of deals you can make there. Okay, I'm going to start with this, but let's layer our snowflake first, and we'll layer it all together. The snowflake shadow, this is from the Christmas cartridge, and it's the one that actually came downloaded with the Gypsy when you got the Gypsy. And then I have a snowflake that is cut out of a very glittery paper, and this paper is a color box paper that I got today at Walmart, and it's one of those 99-cent packs. There's two big 12x12 sheets of glitter paper in this one, And there's two nice foil papers in this one. I had forgotten I had that big rack of cardstock, so I bought one of these, but I'm sure I'll use it. These are Colorblock, and they were at Walmart for 99 cents. So I will tell you, it does leave glitter on your mat, so you want to kind of save this or use the same mat for all of these, and then you can clean the mat afterwards. And I'm just going to put down my glue paper so that I don't get glue all over everything. And we'll just get this adhered down. I cut the regular cut and the shadow. And I must say, this glitter paper cut very nicely. It's not too heavy, but it's not paper thin either, if you know what I mean. And it's it cut very smoothly, as you can see, because the snowflakes are sometimes hard to cut because they're such an intricate pattern, but I think this worked out very well. Now we're going to try to get this on here, positioned correctly. There you go. And that navy blue behind it really does give it some definition. It really makes it look nice. So now we'll just take this one and adhere it to our circle. And I'm not going to pop it up. You could if you weren't going to mail it, but again, the more dimension you add, the more expensive it is to get these in the mail, and it's just as easy to make a batch of them. I figured that with that 12 by 12 sheet of paper, you could get at least 9 snowflakes, if not 12. 12 if you're very clever at positioning them on the gypsy, 9 if you're like me. So you could make 9 cards out of one 12 by 12, and you've got 2 in that package for 97 cents. So that's very pretty. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of ATG on the back. And you can see now why I did the bow first, because you need to know where your orientation is up at the top that you can use. I got a little glue. I'll have to clean that off later. The problem with this mirrored paper is it will show if you get glue on it, but I can clean it off later once it dries. I don't think I can do it now. We'll see. No, it needs to dry, and I'll use some glue off. Okay, so basically that's the card. Now what I do with my cards is I generally generate a computer sentiment and make a lot of them, and then just add them to the inside. And I have one right here that I will add to this card, like so. And I think I will have to be a little more careful with the glue next time. But like I said, this is a lot of cards from one piece of paper. And again, I'm putting the sentiment right to the crease because, as you can see, we have limited area at the bottom with this piece folded up. I did use a little distress ink on the sides of this sentiment. And then when the card closes, it closes very nicely inside the matchbook. And it fits very nicely inside of an A2 envelope. I forgot to tell you that the actual size of this card will be your 4 1/4 by 5, not 5 1/2. So there's the card for today. Lots of different things you could put in the middle. I'm going to make some with different color scheme and make some wreaths that you can then decorate nicely. I think it came out really cute. What do you think? Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. We're on the way. I'll see you next week. And I meant to tell you, I plan to do some other things too, some other projects, not just cards, but primarily cards, because that's what we need to get in the mail soon. I'll talk with you later. Play nice. Bye-bye.